Welcome to Kommunicate webinar on conversational AI in Fintech. Today we have Srinivas Reddy, whom you can see on the screen over there. He is the co-founder and CTO of Taxbuddy as a guest speaker, and with whom we will explore the exciting world of conversational AI and its application in the Fintech industry. Taxbuddy is a fintech company trusted by millions of individuals and businesses to file tax returns. With a constantly increasing user base of customers, they have automated around 70% of their incoming queries using a conversational AI solution. So Srinivas comes with an experience of more than, 20 years of experience in software technology, and we will hear more about Srinivas and Taxbuddy, but I wanted to share why we are doing this webinar. So as more and more financial institutions adopt conversational AI technologies to improve customer experience and streamline operations, it is becoming increasingly important for the professionals in the industry to stay up to date with the latest developments. In today's session, we will discuss the current state of conversational AI in fintech and understand how Kommunicate helped Taxbuddy streamline its tax filing process. A few housekeeping notes before we start the session. I would request everyone to please keep your video off and also your audio on mute. The first 20 minutes will be a conversation where I would ask a few questions to Srinivas, and the last 10 minutes would be for the Q&A. So please feel free to drop in your questions on the chat option that you see. So without any further ado, Srinivas, welcome to the session. Thank you so much for giving us your precious time today. Please tell us about yourself and Taxbuddy, and please hit it off.
Thanks, Manav, for the quick introduction. Welcome, everyone. So I happen to be the CTO and co-founder with Taxbuddy. Taxbuddy is the tax compliance service where our primary goal is to help our end users to file their tax returns, but going beyond that, to be the, as the name suggests, we are Taxbuddy, to be their partner during their journey of tax compliance. So we don't purely focus only on tax filing, but it goes beyond that, and we'll explain how we go about doing that. Also, the second thing what we do is we focus purely on assisted filing, and that's where the conversation becomes very important. So, so we focus primarily on assisted tax filing with technology. We're using technology to scale and ensure that our end users get a very optimum service for something as boring as tax filing. So that's a quick introduction about Taxbuddy.
So Srinivas, can you tell us more about yourself? What's your role out there in Taxbuddy? What do you do? What's your day-to-day job role out there?
Yeah, so by designation, I happen to be the CTO, and I was the early founder. So obviously, part of the work is defining the product roadmap, using the right technology, working with partners like yours, identifying your partners like yours, and integrating the solution. But like any startup, everyone is the CEO, what I call as a chief everything officer. So there's a lot of other things which we do, right, from operations to technology. But yes, bulk of my work is technology, and most of it is tuned towards product roadmap, technology feasibility, implementing the right solution. Typical CTO kind of profile.
So you totally come from a very technical background, and regarding that, so the fintech industry is constantly evolving. Also, the AI and machine learning industry, currently with ChatGPT and everything, it's booming like anything. So how is fintech using AI and machine learning in their industry? Can you share some examples? Where do you see some advancements happening?
Sure. So I think generally when you look at fintech, I think the tech is the biggest component in this word itself, right? So AI ML especially is used a lot in fintech industry, mainly to improve the general efficiency, accuracy of financial services. It can start with as complex as fraud detection, where a lot of AI ML is used to detect fraudulent activities within a financial transaction, and churn in a lot of data and predict things ahead of time. Something like credit scoring is a second good use case where a lot of machine learning algorithms. In fact, we have another product called FinBingo where we use a lot of these for credit scoring. Robo advisory, AI-powered robo advisories are very common, and they're used by most of the fintech solutions, including a lot of large banks In fact, we work with a lot of large banks where they use our robo-advisory to integrate into their existing ecosystem. Risk management is another area where we see a lot of AI being used. Personalized banking, I think we've seen that with a lot of, especially over in India also, there are a lot of neo banks coming in where they use a lot of these AI and ML, to give a very personalized service to their customers. And I think the most important is the customer service, where you want to run chatbots where you keep your banks 24 into 7 open for your customers. And I think chatbots have gone ahead beyond simple, inquiries. Now you can do a lot of transactions with them. So customer service is one area where it really, AML is used in fintech. And I think overall, in the fintech industry, it's you can see a lot of innovation happening, and that opens up a lot of opportunity. And I think it's a constant endeavor going on right now.
Perfect. That sounds great. Thank you so much for sharing that insights. So why did you feel to use a conversational AI solution in tax filing? How did tax filing and how did conversational AI meet together?
That's interesting. So when we started around 4 years back, so we started, that's when we kind of had our first product out, and it was a very form-driven approach where users would come and upload a lot, type in a lot of data, upload a lot of files. And I think somewhere we were emulating the government website, the regulatory website, which was there. And then we had a decent traction, but we really felt users, that the product fitment wasn't there. Then when we sat on the drawing board, so fortunately for us, every year is a new tax season. So there is a tax window during which a lot of users come, and then it kind of fizzles out. So we get that good 3 months period where we can relook at our experience last year and develop what we need next year. So as part of the first exercise when we were doing, we realized that how do you and I file? I think all of us talk to our CA, and probably that's the only time we talk to them. And after that, we never speak to them. We talk to them. It's a conversation. You send him data either using WhatsApp, email, whatever it means. And that's how the whole filing happens. And then we started exploring of how do we emulate the same physical world experience into the application or our service. And that's when this idea of chatbot came in. And since we were earlier associated in my previous startup with Kommunicate in the previous avatar, we started exploring. We started looking at multiple solutions, and we found Kommunicate to be a good fit, for various reasons, and that's how we started our journey. And that was our first version, which was a very basic, not a chatbot, a very rule-driven chatbot kind of a thing. And then over the 3 years, we really emulated, we kind of enhanced that. And then we saw a good traction among the users. Users could relate to it, and especially, I think what we realized is also that instead of even talking needs a dedicated time slot. It's a two-way communication. What we call as full availability of the other person. Tax filing typically, I mean, most of it happens towards the end of the tax season, the last 15 days. But it never happens in one session. So users come, they give some data, then they forget some data, or then they just forget about it. Then towards the end, they come in, and it's more, and we found that we were able to get a lot of traction, and the user experience really increased. And especially in an assisted mode, the user doesn't want to fill in a long form. You show him a form with 15 fields, then he feels it is almost like I'm doing it and I'm paying it kind of a thing, right? So, so chatbot became inevitable for us.
Got it. My next question was, whatever my next question was, you already answered it, but I'm still going to ask you again. So how does Kommunicate help you exactly? How does Kommunicate's chatbot help you in tax filing? You could have gone with some other solution, but you have explained why you went with the chatbot. But what other metrics do you see for a success using a Kommunicate's chatbot?
I think there were multiple things. So when we started looking at options, there were quite a few options on the table, frankly, covering multiple things. But I think what we were looking for was basically that something which plugs in well within our existing app or our website. One of the criteria also was we were using Flutter way ahead of time. Flutter is basically for mobile apps, same code for both Android and iOS. And very few vendors were supporting Flutter. One of them was Kommunicate. That was one of the reasons. But beyond that, I think there were two factors which really helped. I think the level of customization which was possible with Kommunicate, I think that was good. Second was their SDK approach, so they didn't force me to use, most of the tools come with a lot of bells and whistles, and you basically use the whole thing. So it was very, SDK driven approach was good. And the whole, possible customization options was one more thing. Plus, I think when you're a startup, so 3 years back, we were not, we were just started 4 years back. We did, probably first year we did around 6,000 filing. We were also growing. So we were looking for a company which can grow with us. And fortunately, I think our bet was correct. And I think over the last 3 years, we've mutually grown together.
Yeah, and we're really happy to be part of this journey. So you use a lot of omni-channel strategy in Taxbuddy, not just a chatbot on a website, but you use the chatbot on different platforms and you bring in data from different things. Can you tell our audience a bit more about the omni-channel strategy in Taxbuddy?
Yes, I think omni-channel today, I think, is the reality. The tendency of users is they want to they expect your solutions to work same way across all the channels. So in case of Kommunicate, so when we started 4 years back, when we started with the chatbot concept, we were using two solutions. One was Kommunicate for web, mobile, and then we were using for WhatsApp. We had tied up with another company. WhatsApp had just arrived at that point. The WhatsApp business had just arrived. We were using another vendor, basically, and then there was no dashboard, so we ended up developing the agent piece of it. What you get in Kommunicate, the agent dashboard, that we ended up developing in our back office. And for a year, we were doing that, and then we realized that a lot of code has to be managed. The same chatbot is running between WhatsApp and Kommunicate. Also, they are disconnected in some or the other way. So fortunately, you guys came up with the WhatsApp support, and that really helped us, because now in our case, a user can start his journey on mobile, web, and then he can continue on WhatsApp, or he can actually start on WhatsApp and continue anywhere. And his conversation starts exactly where he left in the journey of his tax filing. And I think that really helps us, because one of the beautiful piece of WhatsApp is, if you really look, one of the challenge for us in customer acquisition or the user journey is on the web, it is he has to log in with an OTP. On the mobile, it is download the app. Hopefully he opens the app for the first time, because till then we can't even engage with them, and then continue with his authentication process. But in case of WhatsApp, it's a zero friction. They just click on a link and the journey starts. We don't have to verify anything because it's already a verified mobile number. So omni-channel, I think that's how it fits in for us. And also what happens is, so as I said, we're a tax compliance site. We're not a pure tax filing site. So when users file with us, across the year, we help them with tax planning. We help them with any notices they get. And beyond that, they come up with a lot of questions, So I bought a house. How should I, what should I do? My old house, I've inherited something, or I've gained some, wealth. How do I manage? How do I pay advance tax? And I think at that point, a lot of our users, because at the end of it, users use us during tax filing, and then they probably delete our app, right? So WhatsApp channel will always remain open, so they can come in there and just put a question. And the best part is now we don't have to worry about multiple bots. We can maintain one bot which works for both, all the three channels. So that's one example of WhatsApp. The other good example is email. So while we were using Kommunicate, we realized that incidentally Kommunicate has a very interesting feature. If the user is away and the agent sends him a message, or if the user sends a message, it sends an email to the other party. And we realized that if the user replies to that email, it actually goes and sits in the same conversation. And so we had a very small percentage of users. So we do a lot of corporate tie-ups where we walk into corporates, work with their HR to give tax service to their employees. And we've seen a trend in corporate employees where there are users who So we publish a support@taxbuddy.com, which is also tagged with Kommunicate, ecosystem. So we've seen a very minuscule percent, but a growing percentage of users who don't even create a user ID in our system. They send a mail through support, which becomes a conversation. We add them as a user and send that data to Communicate, and then that's when the user gets created. But it's not the user who is created. We actually added it with him on our back office. And then we completed their whole filing without them opening our website or app. So this is another example where omni-channel presence is required, right? I mean, across the, wherever the customer is there, we want to be there.
I think that's a great example of what you just described step by step. I myself use Taxbuddy. I downloaded the app. I gave my phone number in. I gave my personal email address, and then I kept receiving notifications on WhatsApp and on email, which is really great. It feels like you know me, and you send the right message at the right time. So I guess for any organization, omnichannel is a must-have strategy. Okay, moving on to next question, which will be my last question for the day, and then I'll open the floor for the Q&A session. So I would request the audiences, please type in your questions if you have any questions for Srinivas or for Kommunicate or for us. So here comes the last question from my end, which is, what are some of the future trends you expect in conversational AI? How conversational AI, the way ChatGPT is coming in, moving in, what are some of the future trends do you expect to see?
So omni-channel, we've already spoke. I think that's probably going to continue. I think you're going to see Facebook messengers, Google Messenger. Like I was the other day in Bangalore at your office, we were talking about how can you integrate with Google Messenger. We see a lot of traction there. You already have Facebook and released Instagram recently. So omni-channel is obviously one of them. But it's also multimodal. People are now expecting, users are now expecting not that they type in, they also want to talk to, voice assistant is a common requirement, especially with, Siri and others who, kind of gaining traction, especially in India. I think that's in the general expectation is multimodal, that they would do it with voice, they would probably put in some, text or images or gestures, and, we'll have to figure out solutions around that. Hyper personalization. So it's just not personalization. You have to get very hyper personalization because that I think is the generally expected now. People, although know they are talking to a bot, but users do expect a level of personalization. Context awareness is very important. I think in what so with NLP and machine learning, it's possible now to have a very contextual conversation with the user, and I think users do expect that from systems like these. Future could also be integration with augmented reality, with Meta and other things gaining traction. I think that's another trend which you're going to see. And then further it's going to extend to IoT, smart home systems, Alexas of the world, kind of thing. And I think there's going to be a lot of advancement here. And I think these are probably few of the areas, but it could go much beyond this one.
Got it. Thank you so much. I see a question from Sushant Ghildial. He's asking, what are the differences from an integration point of view that you might have experience in implementing chatbots for corporates and individual consumers?
As such, we don't have a corporate customer. So in our case, what happens, we speak to the corporate clients where their employees then use Taxbuddy. So it's more of B2B2C kind of a thing. So we are more on the individual consumers. So I think the challenge generally is how do you integrate with your back office systems? Like in our case, if we upload some data, how do we push that data to our back office system and communicate? And I think a lot of these solutions available in the market have very good integration points now, because they know, I think these solutions by itself are not complete unless they have proper integration options. Like I think in case of Kommunicate, we extensively use webhooks and custom chatbot. But I think in case of Kommunicate and most of the other solutions, you also provide integration with a lot of other tools like Lex or Google Dialogflow and other things. So I think this is it's quite feasible to do those, and we didn't find it a lot more challenging actually.
Got it. Thank you so much for answering that. Uh, if our audiences have any question, please feel free to type in your question on the chat widget. In the meantime, if while others are putting in question, I have one question from my end. The way AI and machine learning is advancing, do you see a point of time where it would be very hard to differentiate between a chatbot answering your queries? Like, is it really a chatbot or is it really a human? Like, do you see that point coming?
Yeah, I think it's so when we started, we 3 years back, as I said, it was a very rudimentary chat where most of the work was done by a tax expert on the other end. But gradually now we've seen, so I was talking to, so we have this monthly meetup with our operations team, and we were talking to them, and they say compared to 3 years back, right now they just said we just open the Kommunicate dashboard and observe the chat conversation. We have to intervene very less. So over a period, with the existing technology itself, the maturity has happened. And I think as we explore more and more advanced technologies, I think we are not very far from there. But I still feel a human intervention is inevitable because, and sometimes it could be cosmetic, So I don't know, we had come to you with a request around 2 years back, and I think even recently, where even if it's a chatbot, we want to show a proper human name, a name associated with it, because people still feel better talking to a human at the other end. No one wants to talk to a machine knowingly.
Right.
And when we speak to our users, quite a few of them feel they are actually talking to a human. Okay, and that was very surprising for us because we knew it's a bot. A lot of them felt they're talking to a human because obviously we were using some of the features where if it goes beyond the chatbot, we still give them a standard answer. And if the chat kind of fails, it doesn't fit into any of the rules. It quickly sends an alert to the tax expert so that they can they can intervene quickly. And but to answer your question specifically, yes, we are not far off from there.
Yeah, I feel in the same lines too, the way it is growing. I don't okay, I see one question from Devashish coming in. What are the use cases in fintech for chat GPT, OpenAI APIs?
I think especially from a taxation perspective, we've been exploring, but taxation tends to be a very localized, regulatory-driven approach. So we don't see a lot of traction there. But when we look at our other product, which is more around investment portfolio management, we are exploring that, and we do see a lot of use cases coming in, but it's at very early stage. I think at this point, there's a lot of hype around consumers using ChatGPT. And fortunately, you guys have released the ChatGPT integration also. So it's still on the anvil, but there is a lot of opportunity. I think we just got to figure out and tap the right options there.
Yeah, I see one question from Mosumi asking, does the chatbot file our taxes or does it only guide us?
So in our case, it is actually end-to-end journey, right from taking the data points, answering the query, deciding which package the user should take, ensuring that he gets the right, he gets optimized maximum refund or the optimized taxation. All that is automated in our back office. And as the user continues his journey, the data gets, in fact, we generate the summary also automatically. And then a tax expert just looks at it to ensure that there are no errors and it's within the right range. And in some cases, there are certain data points which has to be exclusively asked from the user, which is not available from the regulatory. So if in India, what has happened in last 2 years is the income tax. So regulatory has automated a lot of stuff. So a lot of data now comes from there. But sometimes the data points are missing. So it's more of a confirmation kind of a thing. But the whole tax filing happens end to end from automatically. Okay, right from capturing the data, giving the summary. The moment user says, so So if the user confirms that yes, this summary is correct, then the tax filing is done. In case he has queries, that's where the human intervention is required as of.
Great, thank you so much. I guess that's one of the trickiest thing to work out, working with the governments, I guess. They're changing their tax return rates every time new rules and regulations are coming in. I guess that keeps you guys on the toes every time. Okay, I have one question from Sushant. He's asking, when we talk about hyper personalization, how do you implement or handle chatbots to preempt the needs of users? Example, if I, for an example, or an existing customer expect some kind of financial taxation need, how do you approach it using AI?
So we have something known as a tax planning advisory, which is where we use part of the AI. The other good example of a simple example could be user has filed his tax returns and he's come back to our system. So we know that he's filed his tax return. We know that he's got a refund. So 99% of the time we realize the users want to know what is the refund status, right? So now when they come, we don't even expect them to ask a question. We automatically check his refund status through the government website, capture that data and tell him this is what is your refund status. Are you looking for something else? And there we give him option, do you want to do tax planning or did you get a notice, kind of a thing, right? And in case he gets a notice, we again use part of the AI where we, so notices are sent via email in a soft copy or PDF form. So we use AI to parse that data and figure out what exactly was the reason why he got the notice and come up with an automated solution, which is then verified with the tax expert, kind of a thing. So these are two good examples where hyper personalization is used.
Okay, there's one follow-up question from Shishant. He's asking, does Taxbuddy give disclaimer to user that an AI is going to assist them in tax filing?
I don't think so. We call ourselves assisted tax filing. We really don't put in a disclaimer particularly there. I think because, as I said, a lot of our users feel they are still talking to a tax assistant, and as I said, it's continuously monitored at the end of the day. So we haven't given, and that's when we ask some of the users. So we do this. We have this good window of rebuilding our product for the next year. So we asked some of the users. And then none of them said, they started taking names of the people they were talking to, a tax expert. And some of them who were within a closed group, we asked them, did you realize you were talking to a bot? 80% of them said, no, we thought we were talking to a human. So I think that's why we don't put that. And, I think people still have that FUD in this part of the world when you say it's an AI. And assisted, I think it's important. But frankly, we have a lot of checks and balances which ensures that a wrong filing doesn't happen. And as a part of, as I said, we are not a tax filing, we are a tax subscription. As a part of a subscription, if they get any notice for the tax filing we do it free of cost, what we call as peace of mind service.
Got it. Thank you, Sushant. I hope that clears the question. We have one last question from Leo Hudson. He's asking, how is Taxbuddy different from other tax filing platforms?
So as I said, we are not a tax filing platform. We are a tax compliance platform. So that is one difference. So we don't sell tax filing as a service. We sell tax compliance as a service. So it's a subscription which has users take for a complete financial year, which includes tax filing, tax planning, if they get any notices, and any queries they have across the year, anything related to taxation. But that's one fundamental difference. Second, we don't do DIY. If we believe anyone wants to do DIY, they are better off going to the regulatory website and doing. That's been our differentiator from day one, and a very risky differentiator, because all our competitors were all focusing on DIY. Okay, DIY, paid DIY, or some form of it. We only focus on assisted tax filing, and we only do paid subscription. We don't do free, because we never believed. Again, our philosophy is, if you want to do it free, you're better off doing it on the regulatory website itself, right? So and I think that again becomes very transactional tax filing approach. So that's been our difference. The third biggest difference is we are super customer focused. You can go to our Google reviews or even the Kommunicate CSAT ratings, and Google review, because it's an external platform. We are almost at 9,000 plus, which is equal. We are at 4.9, that by default, but the numbers are 9,000 plus reviews, which I think is, if you summarize all the other competitors, it comes to closer to that. So customer focus has been our biggest differentiator. And that's where I think a good conversational platform is very important to integrate.
I agree. It's almost impossible to have like 9,000 reviews and to be at 4.9% out of 5, which is really commendable. I think those were all the questions that we had from our audiences. And I think I would like to close this session by thanking Srinivas for taking out your time today and sharing your experiences and sharing your story, sharing the story for. Okay, so Srinivas has.
I just thought I saw a lot of audience which were not from India. So we have just started a
Yeah.
service for US tax filing. We've just started this year where we are going beyond India. So I took the liberty of advertising that.
That is wonderful. So that means you are now working with the US regulators.
Yeah.
That is great. Yeah, that's like it's good for us also as Kommunicate as a partner to tell that we had one partner which went from like India to multinational, which is great. Okay, thank you so much, Srinivas, for taking out the time today. It's really pleasure to have you, and thank you to all our audiences for spending your time with us. It just like what Srinivas did, a pitch for his product is what we want to call out again is like we now have ChatGPT. Kommunicate now has ChatGPT enabled. So please feel free to use it. It is now available for all business customers. We also have released the new flow designer. So please go in and try it out. Again, Srinivas, thank you so much for coming out here and sharing your story with the world.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Sure. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you at the next webinar. Thank you so much.